There's this quiet revolution happening right now, in the very fields that feed all of us. It's a story you almost never hear, but it affects every single thing on your plate. And we're about to find out why one particular year, 2026, could change everything by finally putting these hidden figures in the spotlight. Let's dive in.
Okay, let's just start with this one number. 50%. Let that sink in for a second. That's how much of the world's food is grown by women in low-income countries. They are, quite literally, feeding half the planet. It's an absolutely massive contribution. They are the backbone of global agriculture.
And that leads us to the big, kind of shocking question at the heart of all this. If they're doing half the work, growing half the food, why do they own less than 15% of the actual land? It doesn't add up, and that's the fundamental problem we're going to unpack. Well, to tackle this head-on, the United Nations has officially declared 2026 the International Year of Women Farmers. And look, this isn't just some nice pat on the back. It's meant to be a huge global wake-up call to a problem that's been in the shadows for way too long. Yeah, this is so much more than just appreciation. Think of it as a strategic move. The goal is to focus the entire world's attention on the deep, systemic issues facing 47 million women. Women who are absolutely critical to our food system, but somehow remain almost completely invisible and unsupported.
To really get your head around the scale of this, you gotta look at the data. The numbers tell a pretty powerful story here. A story of contribution versus compensation that's playing out all across the world.
Wow, okay, just look at the sheer scale of this. In North Africa, it's 43%. Sub-Saharan Africa, a full 50%. And then you get to South Asia, and it jumps to a staggering 70%. We're not talking about women who are just helping out on the farm. In many parts of the world, they are the agricultural workforce.
And this chart, this just lays it all out so clearly. You've got 50% of the labor on one side, and less than 15% of the land ownership on the other. That isn't just a gap. It's a chasm, and it's a chasm that stifles potential and keeps people locked in poverty. So you might be wondering, why 2026? What's so special about that year? Well, the timing is absolutely critical. It's a key check-in point for the world's 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. It's also a direct response to how the pandemic showed us just how fragile our food supply chains really are. And finally, it's an urgent recognition that women are on the absolute front lines of climate change. But, statistics and charts can only tell you so much. Behind every single one of those data points is a real person, a real life. So to understand the true cost of all this, let's step away from the big picture and just walk through a typical day for one of these farmers.
Her day starts at 5 a.m., before the sun is even up. And it is a relentless 17-hour marathon. She's got to get the family ready, feed the animals, then she heads to the fields for hours of hard physical labor. And after all that, she comes home to do it all over again with dinner and chores. This isn't one job, it's two full-time jobs, a massive double burden that's totally unrecognized.
And after that grueling 17-hour day, after producing food and running a household, here's the cruelest part. In the official economic data, you know what she's often called? A non-working housewife. All that immense labor is just invisible, wiped from the records. But what if we could change that? What if we could actually close these gaps? The payoff isn't just about what's fair. It's about unlocking one of the most powerful solutions we have to some of the planet's biggest problems. The whole problem really comes down to what experts call the resource gap. Think about it. Women own less land, so they have nothing to use as collateral for a loan. In fact, they get only 1% of all agricultural credit. 1%. They have less access to good seeds, to fertilizer, to training. We're basically asking them to feed the world with one hand tied behind their backs. So what happens if we untie that hand? Well, according to the Food and Agricultural Organization, if women farmers just had the same access to resources as men, we could lift 150 million people out of hunger. Just let that number sink in. 150 million. That's not a small adjustment. That is a world-changing impact.
And the best part is, this isn't just some theory on paper. It's already happening. We are already seeing these incredible, powerful examples of what's possible when women are empowered. Let's take a look at 3 really inspiring stories from the Arab world.
First, meet Ahmed from Syria. The war completely destroyed her family's olive orchard. But she didn't give up. No way. She replanted the whole thing, and then she organized a cooperative with 20 other women. Today, they produce organic olive oil that they export to Europe. Her story just proves that when people band together, they can build resilience and power, even out of absolute devastation.
Then there's Fatima in Morocco. She's a young agricultural graduate who couldn't find a job. So what did she do? She created her own. She got a small loan and started a greenhouse business in a really dry region. And today, she employs 10 other women. It's just a perfect example of what happens when education meets entrepreneurship. It's a powerful, powerful force.
And finally, in Sudan, we have Salma. All the modern commercial seeds were failing because of the constant drought. But she had an ace up her sleeve, traditional, drought-resistant seeds that were passed down from her grandmothers. She's not just a farmer, she's a guardian of biodiversity. Her story is this vital reminder that ancestral knowledge isn't just history, it's a critical tool for adapting to our changing climate.
These stories, they show us what's possible. And that brings all of this to a choice for us. The path we take from here is going to determine not just the future for these women, but the future of our food supply, period.
So how do we make this happen? Well, it takes action on every single level. At the top, governments have got to reform land and inheritance laws. Financial institutions need to create loans that are actually designed for women farmers. In our communities, we need to support female-led co-ops and training programs. And then there's us. As consumers, it can be as simple as asking where our food comes from and choosing to support companies that empower women.
By 2030, the stakes couldn't be clearer. We're looking at two very different futures. If we fail to act, food insecurity gets worse, rural communities get weaker, climate change hits harder. But if we act, the future is radically different. We're talking 150 million fewer hungry people, thriving rural economies led by women, and communities that are so much stronger in the face of climate shocks.
The women we've talked about today are out there, right now, planting the seeds of our future. The only question left is, how are we going to help it grow?